Hello, welcome to another New Reading cast. As always, my name is Johno, and I'm joined once again by Joey. How's it going, Joey?
Not too bad, thank you.
And we're here to watch the final from the Reading Store Championship.
Final.
Only two remain. On the left-hand side, we have Richard Pattinson playing his RP. On the right-hand side, we have Theo Clifford playing Noise. These guys are actually school friends.
Yep.
The atmosphere of this game was quite casual, actually. It was like a kind of local league night.
And they'd already played earlier in the
that's right.
winners' final, right? So
they played earlier on in elimination. I don't think they played in Swiss, but they would have played a lot against each other in practice and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So now RP against Noise, I guess we would probably favour Noise in this because it's likely to go long.
Sure.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair. And a lot of your sort of gear check ice, the ice that punishes you for checking is negated by Faust a little bit.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, but at least you want to protect archives anyway. So that's
true. That is true. You are going to ice all your centrals, and once all your centrals are iced, it does become not risky, but it becomes a little dangerous if you need to start pressuring remotes.
Yeah.
Let's also not forget, we've seen it happen before. If you happen to get Wildside installed but not a Justice Chronotype, you can start to run very short clicks. But that's a kind of game management.
Yeah, I still think it's better to have Wildside in 3 clicks than 4 clicks.
Even against
RP.
Cards.
Yeah, even
probably fair.
RP.
Yeah, Wildside's key.
The interesting include is whether Richard put Cerebral Static in his deck, knowing that he would possibly play a lot of Noise. That can really swing an RP matchup. If you can get your 3 centrals protected and then play Cerebral Static, you can then ignore Noise and do your normal RP plan of just set up, get your economy, set up a big remote, start scoring. The problem is if you don't get Cerebral Static down, then you have to go a little bit faster than you want to as RP because you're on the clock and you haven't got time to get a Sundew remote, let that tick for 10 turns, then put a Caprice in it, blah, blah, blah.
It would be a good include, actually. I mean,
not all RPs play it, but...
There were a lot of Anarchs at the time, and the Anarch IDs in particular tend to get hit by Cerebral Static.
Yes,
I think
the Anarchs are pretty...
quite strong and core.
You tend to build around your ID ability, and it can be really tough. So,
and given it's in house, and it's in Jinteki, and it's also currents are very good in RP because barring Film Critic or something like that, or even including Film Critic,
there's not many agenda scores.
It's quite hard to steal an agenda. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why it had enhanced login protocol a lot in the past.
That was in kind of early RP.
And it does. I think current suit it well, but Cerebral Static is it's one that's hard to slot, but it is it sort of fills that CVS spot or something else. We've got Wildside down, which is good for
also Shahrazad. So let's talk quickly about Shahrazad. Is that an interesting decision? It gives you a credit rebate every time you install a virus, like now, because presumably you're going to put a lot of viruses on it.
Yes,
but it comes with inherent risk.
I don't play with it.
You use Cyberfeeder? No, you use Sahasrara.
Rah, yeah.
Okay.
The Cyberfeeder Shahrazad. I think Noise. It pays to be reckless. I'm too reckless, but it pays to be reckless, and I'm not gonna.
Shahrazad does punish recklessness.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna. Also, power shutdown. I'm a bit too scared to use it. Too many times have I had my whole rig trashed. I take tags, accidentally lose ASOPs. I'm not adding another thing that.
Yeah, okay.
Will ruin that. So, it does do your economy. But I think if you spend a little influence on Rara, or the other option is you put daily cast back in. That would solve that problem. And it's also, I think people only run 1, maybe sometimes 2, and you need it quite early.
If you want it, you want it early. I think. Yeah, I think there's an argument to putting viruses on it, but not putting Faust on it. Yeah.
But if it does get trashed, yes, they were disposable, but you sort of rely on them. Your ASOP's economy relies on you.
You lose your ASOPs as well. It's worth mentioning, and there's going to be at least 2, probably 3 ASOPs in this Noise deck. He hasn't drawn ASOPs, and you kind of want to have it by now.
But he has got the wild side. If he hadn't got that, then he'd be in trouble. But having one of
at least he's getting the cards, so eventually it will show up. Yeah.
There's a CVS in the bin, and a Jackson's been used.
Yeah. So he's going to use Jackson.
He used it. He just forgot to.
Yeah, he used it in the previous turn. It's worth mentioning that he used Jackson a few times to draw, actually. That's something you don't really want to do against Noise.
Speed the game up.
Yeah.
But he's trying to rush out agendas. He probably wants to score Mise first. I think he can.
But he's not exactly set up.
Other agendas in. He's not set up, but
so Sundew will help.
Can Theo get in?
I mean, he's not running, and he hasn't got Faust, so he may not be particularly eager to run until
and
he
he's
has
got
that.
3 clicks, as you said, so he'd have to run archives.
So he's probably not going off that.
And he has to install Faust and then run the remote. He could.
It's not going to trash it this turn, I think, because he's also lost his imp counter. He has no imp counters left because he hit the CVS, so he's not. I mean, I don't. It may not be possible. Probably is possible, like cash and stuff. But
so this is where RP has to think differently against Noise, because Noise seriously has to set up now. He's not really possible to pressure these remotes because something like this will happen.
So Assassin is bad because he hasn't got any money. He
Firing.
can't contest a trace. He's going to lose Shahrazad.
And all of his.
So it's the classic downside of Shahrazad.
12 credits worth of things and all future Shahrazad installs.
He's also going to lose 3 credits. It's hard to know if that's. So he loses a clone chip, that's bad. He's going to have good cards in hand.
Well, he's only clone chip in the deck.
So he lost to Grimoire as well, but I mean, he can't afford it. That is useful.
Rolling a dice for net damage.
So he's rolling the dice to pick, although he wasn't actually
he was ignoring
using the dice. He was just rolling them. Yeah.
Just trolling and wasting time.
Well, I don't know about that. As I say, this game had a very kind of casual feel to it. So it turns out Theo actually did manage to get in and trash the Sunju on that turn, even though we thought it wasn't possible. But at great cost, I think it's fair to say.
Great cost, yeah.
He didn't lose. So losing an Aesop's or a Pancakes would have been pretty disastrous. Yeah. Losing Grimoire is annoying.
He can't try and score now, though. I think he really needs to be trying to score. I know he's a little bit too poor, but while he can, he needs to score.
Yeah.
Because he needs to get this game over with, at a reasonable time. But he can't score through that Assassin because Theo will just run through it. He's got no programs to take through net damage and score.
Well, he needs a Caprice because at least that dissuades you running twice. And also, let's not forget, Theo is operating on 3 clicks, so he is only going to get maximum 2 runs at that remote. So Icing Archives here I think is good as well.
So if that's a Caprice, if he can get some money, then he should install an agenda and try and score it.
The thing is, I think he's too poor.
He needs money.
He doesn't have enough to threaten resing a piece of ice on a central, maybe it's a pup, and also res a Caprice, and put an agenda that he can advance behind it.
He res the DBS, because that 2 credits would be quite useful right now.
Yeah, DBS is very strong.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying though, and he's got pad. In theory, it will help him draw his economy. I mean, it helps you draw whatever you need, right? So I'm not sure what he's operating on. A Sunju, for instance, would be good, or he might have. I think he has Celebrity Gifts in this deck, for instance. That's a good boost.
Sure, that would be useful, but if he is flooded, then he might not want to do that.
Yeah, and maybe he is. There was a lot of Jackson. Well, he did use the Jacksons, so
Cyber Feeder, Cash, and Aesops. That is a good turn.
So
economy.
yeah, so next
Theo's
turn
now winning the economy.
He's going to jump straight up. Yeah, agree. It'd be interesting to know if you're Richard at this point, you're still trying to throw away agendas and draw economy, and indeed he puts in a Sunju. I think that's good.
Yeah, but that's just setting you up to lose in the late game. I think the longer
I don't think you let it tick for very long.
It's stalled out, so this game is stalled a little bit. I would possibly have put that Sunju
somewhere else.
Yeah, in the open.
I feel like he'd go after it.
Sure. Well, that's a tempo swing.
Yeah.
Cost you nothing.
He can't really res any of this ice. Well, he can ice. He can res weak ice on centrals. Pinching, see if he does. Yeah. So Pop's actually a good candidate here.
Yeah.
Because it's 1 to res and 2 to get through.
Imp.
He's going to lose a hedge fund. That's
and then
deliberate or not. That was a pretty good targeted meal. Would you consider installing the imp and then running? I guess you might.
Yes, I would have installed the imp and
because then you could say use the imp, or
no, because
you'd see a different card.
I treat every card that's milled as something I've accessed already.
So you try not to access it first.
I essentially would have accessed twice. So now he saw a card and then milled it. So
yeah.
Whereas if he milled it, he'd have seen the card underneath, and then he was going to see whatever. And
he might access that later.
Later, yeah. So I tend to always install the viruses first.
That's fair.
And then if it is something horrible, you can always use the imp.
Yeah,
if you need to.
That's
if
true.
It's a future perfect, you do a side game, you can imp it.
I guess I didn't know what the ice was. There's also the other thing that Theo needs to keep in mind is that playing against RP, he needs to access with at least a small amount of money because he's going to need. He's going to need to pay for future perfect games. We don't know what the agendas.
In his hand.
Right, so NPDs are floating around, which means he needs money.
Yeah.
They will have played, so he would know that's a decision. So he needs to access with 4 credits. Yeah. So Sanji's sticking up.
Yeah, he's getting a bit more money, but
it's a question about how long you leave it. I think you want to. I mean, if you can get to something like 15, you kind of set up for a little bit, assuming you draw hedges and stuff. But that's a few turns. He's got pad as well, which helps.
Oh, nice.
A really nice crick.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting that you put it there. It must be short of ice, but yeah, that means something's coming back, and it's probably a Jackson.
Yeah, this ice on the centrals is perfect because he's poor and he needs to save his money for scoring, and it's taxing stuff, like, you know.
He could even install
really
the other Sunji out in the open.
Yeah, I think Jackson.
I think Jackson is better against noise, to be honest. But there are decisions to make. You could even consider ice. I think probably not. I mean, even like I'm not sure what he's been milled, but if he's got Eli's, that kind of thing, to put on the scoring remote, it's not bad. It is Jackson, which I think is a fair decision, though.
I think what Theo's trying to do is just make Richard poor, and I think that's...
He's trying to force him to res,
he's now going to probably imp the pad
didn't
campaign.
really work either time.
So...
Yeah, or, I mean...
He's not going to go off the...
You can't walk through the Sunji, because there's probably a Caprice next to it as well.
What he's doing is making him not able to... By keeping him poor...
Maybe you run the Jackson?
Yeah, he could run the Jackson. He's got 2 clicks.
You might force a use, yeah.
Force the use and then run him.
He's thinking about emptying the toll booth, which is interesting, because you feel like Richard's not really in a position to res a toll booth at this point, and also you then use up your imp counter for this turn, so you wouldn't be able to use it on, say, pad. He decides to leave it, which I think is the right decision.
So yeah, the problem with RP is we've seen it in videos you've done before. If they try and score, they trash their Sunji remote with no other economy, and they've got, say, 10, 15 credits, and then they use all that money to score. The person assaults the server but doesn't get in. They score, but they're on 0. Yeah. They then tend to bomb out. Like, when you're on 0 money, it's very hard for RP to bounce back. So you sort of need enough money to resolve your ice, protect your server, score 3 agendas. And I think that's what Theo's realising, is that Richard can't risk trashing that Sunju yet, and the longer the game goes, the better this is for him. So
yeah, eventually he's going to have to trash it himself. So Theo did trash the pad. And it put Parasite on his crick, so that's going to die in a couple of turns. That it just gives another vector, I guess.
Yeah.
That, I mean,
he has to keep protecting. Yeah.
Crick on HQ is great because it means that he can kind of ignore it. But as soon as it's threatened, and in fact he decides to do it now, he can't really defend. He can't defend HQ. He needs to think about putting something else there. It'd be interesting to know what you put there actually. So he's got Pop and R&D. Stuff like that is probably fine for a central, but.
Yeah,
you'd like it to be quite punishing, yeah.
I mean, if it's the toll booth, then it's probably not getting rezzed.
Yeah, that's it. So it's probably not the toll booth, right? I'm a little surprised that Theo didn't at least threaten the Jackson. It would have been nice to run it, get it back in the bin. Maybe he's worried he's going to hit another crick at some point.
Yeah, possibly.
Because it would have been nice, or at least you might even force its use, which means it's out of the game entirely, which is good. Let me just get pancakes, which is going to help.
I think setting up is still the right decision. Richard's still a bit poor.
He is still a bit poor. Okay, so he's going to go for it now. Too soon. You think it's too soon?
Too soon.
So he's installed in advance. I'm going to go on a limb and assume it's a Nisei.
Yeah.
And install second piece of ice. So if that second piece of ice is a toll booth, he kind of can't res it. I mean, he can't, right? I mean, he could, but then he's going to take him a couple of turns to be able to score that agenda. It's going to sit there for a long time. It's possible it's something cheap.
You assume if he's going to try and run it, he's going to install a...
yeah, I expect to see Faust if he's got it.
He's going to install a David first.
In fact, it does have a Faust in hand. Yeah, sorry, you're not going to use a Faust on Assassin.
Well, you can.
I wouldn't recommend it, but you can.
But David also allows him to check archives pretty freely because that could be another crick.
It would be nice to at least challenge this remote because at least then you can force a Caprice Res and a Psy game.
Yeah, and that's what will make him poor. Like if he can score this without spending any more money except the 3 to advance it, then Richard's in a pretty good place. But if Theo can make him really poor scoring this, then Richard's gonna have trouble bouncing back with such weak ice on centrals and no recurring credits, no trickle economy left on the table.
Yeah.
So I think Theo has to. I mean, he probably won't get in, but he can at least challenge.
Yeah, so he's gonna use Faust, okay, and run HQ, the crick. I mean, I assume there's also crick on archives then, and he just drew a lot of cricks.
3 of them.
Yeah. So Faust can break crick. It's going to cost 2 to get foot past the crick, and then another one if he wants an access. He does decide to jack out, which I think is reasonable. All he's trying to do really is just open up the remote.
You can't let it fire because that's Sunju or
yeah, another Jackson maybe, I don't know, whatever. Pad. I mean, something like that would be annoying.
So what he really wants to do now is run the remote and then hope that he just reses that outside piece of ice and he can bounce off it. And because he doesn't really want to break all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if he...
So he did...
If he reses that, he ran Jackson.
He ran the Jackson. He ran the Jackson. So he saw Faust and ran HQ. He also drew a card. And then ran Jackson to force the Jackson use. So he's not pressuring this remote, it turns out.
Yep.
But he does force the Jackson use to return 3 hidden cards. Could be anything.
Could be anything.
I'm going to assume there's at least 1 or 2 agendas in there.
The fact there's a Sunju left in there means there was a few agendas in there for sure.
A bit of misplay here though, because possibly because of the draw or forgetting he saw Faust or whatever, he does decide to take an extra click. He does just take a credit, so it's probably a wash. He can probably live with that. Extra clicks are obviously especially bad against RP. So we do score the Nisei though. So
that's big, and still got enough money to at least not be completely assaulted this turn.
So he's got a Nisei counter. He's got what we continue to assume is a Caprice, I guess, in that remote.
What you really want now is a sort of... You need your Parasites back up. You can Parasite that Crick and that Pup, and that will be...
Yeah.
Deja Vu for Parasites, install Parasites, and there's no money. I mean, Rich is going to have to start clicking for credits.
He is. I mean, you really want to see a hedge fund or a celebrity gift or both. It would be pretty good. So that set him up for the next agenda score. Having said that, he does have an Nisei counter. He does have a scoring remote, which is going to be difficult to get into. So if he
could install Advance another Nisei now, and he could chain it to another Nisei for sure.
Yeah, and go bankrupt.
But I think Noise will then... The thing is, if you go bankrupt, if there's things like Future Perfects in the bin, you can't play the side game. This can be a problem.
I mean, since that piece of ice was installed in Archives, Theo hasn't run Archives.
Yep.
I mean, you're not a particularly strong proponent for running Archives regularly as Noise. You like to leave it. So, and I guess he assumes it's a crick, like you say. Having said that, when there's no Jackson, I guess that's the best time to do it. He does have no points, and it would be nice to get some accesses.
But I don't think he needs to. I think there's 2 Jacksons gone.
There are. That's true.
There's always a chance you mill the third one, or it's just at the bottom of the deck.
True.
The more cards that go into, the less cards there are in R&D, the more agendas there are out and about and ready for you to access. So, it might not be a crick though, because you said you assume it's a crick, so therefore that's the worst place for it, right? That's what they're going to assume it is. Yeah. They're not going to run there unless they can break a crick. So
maybe it's a pop.
And you put 2 cricks on the centrals, so there's a good chance that.
So another Parasite. So we're going to get more HQ pressure. So it's a gift. Be interesting to see what he's got. So I'm going to tell you he's got 2 Eli's, a Toll Booth, a Future Perfect, and a Caprice. So the Toll Booth is probably a blank card now. I expect not to see that until possibly the very late game.
Very useful. That's probably going to go on HQ.
Eli,
right now.
I think Eli's pretty good. You think when he gets the chance, possibly next turn, you try and force through to Future Perfect? If you can do it, saving that Nisei counter, all the better.
Yeah, maybe.
He doesn't install a piece of ice trashing the crick on HQ. I reckon it's an Eli.
I reckon it was an Eli.
I reckon it was not a Toll Booth. So I think... But I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I think he could push it through now. He's 12 credits. That assassin into a Caprice. He's not running through that multiple times. So
yeah, it's true. But if you're Theo here, maybe you try and force a res on HQ. In fact, I expect we'd see a res on HQ if you ran.
That loses him 3 credits. If you could then Parasite this Pup and maybe assault R&D as well. There's not many cards left in R&D by the looks of things. So the agendas are somewhere. It's got to be some in the bin for sure. See, there could be 7 points in the bin.
Yeah, that's true. Then I mean, they're not all in hand, are they? Because we saw a Future Perfect.
There's 3 in hand. There's 2 scored. That's 5. There's 15 more points minimum.
Yeah.
In what looks like not many cards, maybe 15, 20 in R&D, and then a few in the bin.
So yeah, you're right. I expect there's at least 1 or 2 agendas in the bin. He used the Jackson to return 3 face down cards before, but that was on a run on the Jackson, not on Archives. So there could easily be a lot of agendas.
So this is the deceiving thing with noises. It looks like Richard's like 2-0 up, sure, but there's so few cards left and so many agendas that you don't need as many accesses as you normally would. They've been shuffled back in and shuffled back in, and they're going somewhere.
Well, yeah, that's right. If Jackson's putting them back in, then the agenda density of R&D is going to start going through the roof. So we get a Lamprey install and check on HQ, which does force the res.
Yep. 3 credits is big when you haven't got any chocolate economy.
I mean, if Theo can get in, he can start removing more credits. I think you don't pay for Faust though. But if you've got a Parasite kicking around, maybe a clone chip or something to get a Parasite on that Eli, that's pretty good.
But without the data sucker, 4 strength is just too slow.
On the other hand, maybe you just sell the Lamprey next turn and
I think you'd
get all your life.
more likely install a Parasite on the pup and force another res on R&D, making him even poorer.
Yeah, okay.
Because he's going to drop a medium sometime near the end of the game just to see the rest of the deck.
Yeah, eventually it will appear in his hand. There's only one, you think?
One, probably. Yeah. Oh, no, he does put it on the Eli.
On the Eli, okay. So does that suggest he's not going to sell the Lamprey and he's going to try and use it?
Yeah, or he just wants to install a Parasite from mill.
Yeah, that's true. It does mill, and eventually it means that he has to install another piece of ice on HQ.
Often I want to install a Parasite, and there's no res dice. I'm like, I just want to install it.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell it to Aesops anyway.
Oh, you sell a Parasite, really?
Yeah, well, if you just want to get it for the mill, like sometimes you install a Clot against people who don't play Fast Advance.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, okay.
Like,
I think Parasite has more benefits staying on the table. But
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right.
But if you're going to discard a card and you've got 3 Parasites in hand, you're like, I just want to install a Parasite somewhere, but no res dice.
It's not.
I think the pup would be
a dilemma I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, as you say, RP is 2 points up here.
Yeah.
And the economy is kind of dropping back.
Is that
mostly from
Swordsman in hand? That might be interesting.
Yeah, we might get that. Maybe that goes in HQ.
Maybe that's what's in the bit on Archives, maybe.
Or even RD. That's true. You might only have one. No, you might have a couple. There's a lot of Faust around. There was at the time of the tournament.
You could have 2.
Especially in Jinteki.
Yeah.
So he does sell the Lamprey. He's kind of happy to give up on that. But the Parasite gets a counter. Interesting. So we saw an install in this remote. So it could be... I mean, it's probably not a Philotic or something, right? It could be. But it's
probably either an agenda that he's going to... I mean, it's safe in there.
Could be the last Jackson. Probably not.
I doubt it's the last Jackson.
So I feel like it's the Future Perfect, and he just feels like it's safer in the remote than in hand, and he's going to start advancing it next turn. It also... So another part. That's quite annoying for Faust because it's not particularly efficient.
This cheap ice is doing. Richard's been lucky because he's been quite poor this game, but he's rezzed pop crick on centrals, and then Eli. Yeah. I mean, it's been. It's quite. It's good that you have that ice because if that was all big ice, he wouldn't have been able to res it, and he'd be screwed now. But this ice is doing work.
Yeah, so he ran with 2 credits. He's thinking about spending 2 credits to break this pup, to not break it rather, but to pay through the pup. But he's playing against RP. You don't want to access with no money. So, I mean, do you pay 4 cards for an access? No. So maybe So he pays 1 and pitches a spare resource and then jacks out. Becomes uninterested.
I think he more wanted
which is some good R&D ice. Yeah, he forced a res, not particularly expensive one. Maybe he was hoping for another Eli or something. Something you could force the res, just bounce off.
I mean, if that was if that was a toll booth on the outside there, he installed it when he had a lot more money, then he would have not resed it. He could have ditched 2 cards and accessed 2 cards from R&D with medium and a counter. So
hedge fund into a double advance.
Yeah. So it was a Future Perfect.
It's definitely good, yeah.
Or something.
So I'm going to assume this is a Future Perfect. I mean, it's possible it's an Issei. No, it's not really, is it?
But you could play if it was an Issei. Because he's more likely to try and challenge an Issei than he is a Future Perfect.
So it's Future Perfect. That's got to be a Caprice, right? So I wonder if
still Data Sucker and still Lamprey run 1.
Yeah. So this Parasite also has 3 counters.
Yeah. So and he's got a Grimoire, so a Data Sucker would do.
It does, or a second Parasite.
Parasite.
Sure. So he might be able to trash it and then burst in. He does have a medium now.
He might sell it though.
He might sell it because he doesn't want to contend with the pups, or maybe Parasite's the pups.
Or he could sell the Cyber Feeder.
It looks like he has a David in hand, so he could pressure this remote once, unfortunately, because Assassin has 2 subs.
Yeah, it sells Cyber Feeder.
So he sells Cyber Feeder, which is interesting. I mean, it's been good. He's got a lot of money out of it. Does that mean he suspects this game will last less than, I don't know, maybe not 3 turns, but 4 or 5 turns?
Yeah, exactly. He needs the money now.
So he's going to run and bounce off the Eli by the look of it. Yep, he's going to run on bounce off the Eli and then run the remote on click 2. So Eli's super annoying.
3 cards out of his hand.
Yeah.
And then
So
Caprice
Faust
gets
to break the
raised.
Eli. Yeah, and then David to break the Assassin.
I think you do it just to force the Caprice res and the money loss.
And the side game, yeah. And that means, I think you kind of give up on this agenda, but at least you can make
if
it
you win,
so that
if you win the side game, it's
a
on
Nisei
this
counter.
counter.
Yeah. But you give up on the agenda, but I think you can hopefully force... I mean, you can force a side game and some stuff and make it... When he scores the agenda, he's very poor.
Yeah.
Best case, you can also force the Nisei counter use.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
So it indeed was a Caprice.
It was Caprice, yeah.
Well, we saw
there
that.
was
He
no
had
doubt.
another crease in hand, so if it wasn't, he would have put it in
by now, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, tough to say what they're going to bid.
So either way...
Well. So
one, nice.
So, okay, we obviously see a Nisei counter.
Well done.
But he did force the Nisei counter use, which means he can't chain through what would presumably be a game-winning Nisei as well.
So if he scores now, that will put him down to 5 credits, but with no Nisei counter. But he does have this Assassin Eli res.
So here is a bold question. The Eli's going to go away next turn on HQ, though. So here's the real question.
Drop a Lamprey.
Do you... Well, and he does advance and score. Is there any part of you that thinks it might be a good idea to not advance and score that agenda?
Oh, quite possibly,
Maybe Ice HQ, Econ, something like that.
Yeah.
Because...
Put that
the Eli goes away now, right?
That swordsman on HQ, maybe. Because if there's a Lamprey...
That's true. You know there's a swordsman. Yeah. If you can take out the Faust... Yeah, that's big.
The other Faust might even be in the bin by now, so... And with the clone chip gone,
it's possible. You
don't want to be deja vuing a Faust at this part of the game to install it. That's just too weak. You're milling out. There we go, Lamprey.
So Lamprey, and now we're going to get some... it's going to be really rough for RP here.
Because he's not going to have enough money to score for a long time.
And he's seen a swordsman as well. So, yeah, but you can install the swordsman on HQ and just keep clicking for credits. And if there's any chance there's a swordsman on HQ, then surely Theo will not ever run HQ again until he gets a mimic, right?
Look at his RNG though. So he runs through, he loses his Faust, takes net damage, he loses a credit. He runs through, takes net damage, loses a credit. Okay. He can just mill him out.
Yeah.
If you can keep him poor.
I understand, that's true.
I mean, the other problem is Theo is also out of deck, so.
Yeah, this game's definitely gone quite long.
So
he's down to 2. So you can install swordsman and take a credit and probably a second.
Yeah.
Looks like that's what it's going to do. So now, as Theo, you can't really run HQ.
You have to have a very good look at... He's trying to work out, if you can work out what his 2 cards are on his deck and how many cards there are on R&D.
So there is a Faust in the bin.
And we think the Jackson probably isn't... There's a Faust in the bin, so he...
There is a Faust in the bin, so he probably has 3.
No, he probably has 2.
Just 2, you think? Okay, so that means he's not getting that Faust back. So...
But if he can guarantee Richard never being able to score out... The thing is, the net damage is probably the worst part of this because there's so few cards.
He doesn't have enough deck left.
So he can't Lamprey lock him taking net damage, essentially trading a card of yours for a credit of theirs. And if Faust does go, then at least he can just put any agenda he does have in that remote and wait it out because the score threat is... The steal threat is gone. You're literally playing for the mill out now or the... But I'm sure, looking at the board, I think...
I wonder if the third Jackson is in the bin, if it's been milled.
If it's not,
because there's not a lot left in the deck. I mean, we're looking at what? That's got to be less than 10 cards by now.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a timer on this game.
Cash in hand, that's huge.
Do you consider... Now, this might sound unbelievably reckless. Do you consider running HQ, forcing the Swordsman Reds, losing the Faust, taking net damage, and also then Lampreying?
No, Mimic.
Mimic solves that problem quite handily.
He sold the Lamprey. So
he sold the Lamprey. And so another Lamprey, okay. So we've got a mill, and he's going to run HQ.
He's not going to res it. It's not worth 3 credits. Because you'll end up on 0. Oh, it's Eli. Haha, nicely done.
Okay, so a bit of mind games. Which means the swordsman's still out there, in theory.
Yeah, he bans, yeah. Still, he's very poor.
So he forced the... I still think I would have put swordsman there. I don't know. I mean, your opponent knowing what you did is... Yeah. He forced the mimic install, I guess.
But he was playing around swordsman, so he was only going to run it with the full knowledge as a swordsman. So if your opponent's going to... Your opponent will only run it if he can run through a swordsman. And therefore, swordsman is not a good thing to be there.
Yeah.
But only because he had something as good in hand. Like, if that was his only piece of ice, he had to put something there, so he would have put a swordsman there. But I totally understand the had he not seen the swordsman made sense, so he saw the
Yes,
swordsman,
that's
so there's
true.
something else.
Yeah, okay.
And he'll play for a swordsman, and he has to also deal with an Eli, and it paid off.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Yeah. So, I think at this point, you just mill. He just deja vu for a bunch of viruses. You just keep installing viruses. I mean, and that means that the RP player has, I don't know, let's say probably 3 turns left. They don't have the money. They don't have the clicks to install and advance, and unless they've got Philotic hanging around or something.
They need to, you keep milling them as long as you're sure you're not going to give them a window to be able to score. Because he can't threaten the remote anymore.
I think he can't score.
Yeah.
So I think the RP player can't score. The only possibility is if he can say, I think there's only 3 cards left. So you 1 turn from milling.
2, 3, yeah.
I think it's 3, yeah.
And also he's got medium, so he can run in and see all of those cards next turn.
So he's going to run and see 2 cards this turn. You can see mental health.
And
you could
next
trash
one's
it.
Jackson, he can't trash it.
He doesn't have an imp or anything. He can't. So I didn't see what the other card was.
Yeah,
if there's a Jackson, so he knows he's drawing a mental health. That's good as well.
Yes. It's good for Theo. Yeah, there's 3 cards left.
No, yeah. I mean, it's good that he knows he's not drawing agenda. Yeah. So we're going to get install, advance. Okay, so.
But you can't score it. Oh no, but the mental health.
He also installed the remote, so that must be mental health. So this means that. Okay, so basically he's. Richard's now taking the gamble that Theo can't mill him. He has 3 cards left in deck.
Yeah.
As long as only 2 get milled.
He also can't spend a single credit on a side game, so that Caprice is useless.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to run in there, right? He can't break all that stuff. I mean, he can Faust to the Eli, and he's only got 1 David counter. He can take a trace.
Yeah, and that can't be a Jackson because it needs to be the mental health to be able to have the 3 credits to score out.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. If it's the Jackson,
he can't score out unless it's a Philotic and that is the Jackson, and that's amazing.
Yes,
imagine it's a Philotic and a Jackson.
If it's Philotic and a Jackson,
Genius.
You're right.
Genius.
Yeah, then Richard.
No, I
100% deserves to get this. But in fact,
he's got at least a Parasite in hand. I think he might have 3 agendas.
He's had the last of his wild
viruses.
sides as well. There's no deck left, so he's not getting any more. So he's going to Parasite Pup. Richard did not remove the Pup, but I guess he's waiting to see because we've got cash and he's now got the money. He must have another virus in hand. I mean, at this point, you noise. So what's your ratio of your deck? It's like 40% viruses, right?
If not, you just run archives, right?
I mean, maybe you don't. What if you die? Is there any risk?
No.
Okay.
No risk of dying. But he can't play any money for side games if there's Future Perfects in there.
That's true.
And
it must be because there's 1 card
and you can
in
still
the
NAPDs,
deck.
yeah.
So he does in fact install a clot. And that's it. And it was mental health. So that's it.
Came down to the wire.
So Richard just hoped, I guess, that he didn't have 3 viruses in hand. It's a tough bet to take against noise.
Three viruses is, I mean, less than half your deck is viruses.
Yeah.
So probably like 16 to 18 of your cards are viruses in your deck. You know.
Even something like Deja Vu, though, you only need 3 clicks to install them. So yeah,
you can Deja Vu install, but I mean there's money as well. So it was a reason. It was his only gamble he had really. So
so it seems likely that he used 2 Jacksons quite early. It seems likely the 3rd one got milled, and at that point he knew he was against the clock.
I still think if Theo didn't have 3 viruses, he would have run archives and won the game. So
yes, so this raises a good point. I feel like there could have been a lot of viruses. A lot of agendas in the bin from halfway through that game. Yeah. And that if Theo had run archives at any point, he would have just won. And the game kind of dragged out.
But he won,
solely because he refused to run archives.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that's because you're dragging it out. I think that's for that exact reason is that you're playing your... If the win is in archives, you will win later. If it's not in archives, why waste the resources and time running there?
Sure.
When you can keep the pressure up, and then you run archives just before when it's your only out. So it's just another out that remains there. So like right there, if he hadn't had the 3 viruses, he could have run archives and won the game, probably. But he could guarantee it with 3 viruses. So you just keep that as a backup. I think I often get people frustrated when you're playing noise, being like, sometimes they'll be like, just run archives, you've won. You won ages ago, and it's like, well, that's not really the point. Like I'm not running archives because I'm trying to be annoying. It literally is I have that and I will always have that, and
that's the kind of the
you're more likely to win if you play for the win in every other way and then run there as a last resort, and then and you can gauge a bit. They start being erratic. They're trying to rush up because the game is in the bin or something.
You can kind of work it out. That's true. So Theo made his way into the final from the winners bracket, so no second game was required.
No second game, that was it. So, congratulations, Theo.
Yeah, congratulations to
champion.
every one of the 52 people, I believe.
52,
I think
53,
it was
54.
I'm 54 actually. I think 54 including me, but I didn't play. I only played a couple of rounds to even up, avoid buys. So congratulations to everyone who came, in particular those who made the cut, and in particular, of course, to Theo, who walked away with the lovely plaque.
Yep.
And the buy to a regional of his choice, wherever that may be. London, I guess, possibly Reading. I'm not sure. Yeah. So, and that also brings an end to the Reading Store Championship coverage.
Yeah.
Normally at the end of the tournament, I like to thank the TO. But I won't do that.
I can thank the TO.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, TO, Johno.
That's quite all right.
For running that tournament. It was very fun.
I thought it went very well, actually. I was really happy with the number of people who came. And
it was great to show off the new shop. Eclectic Games has got a lovely new shop, and it's just great to have so many people visit and be like, look at our awesome shop.
Yeah, we've moved venue. The shop moved venue, so it was nice to throw a really big tournament in that
and
shop.
they've obviously got the regional as well. So
they got a regional, which is somewhere else because the shop's not that big. But
the shop can hold about 100, but they want to push that. So but the cut will be there.
Yeah, that's right. So the day 2 will be there, and the top 16, and possibly a side event, I think. Anyway, but the day 1, which is the 140 person Swiss, will be elsewhere. But it was a good day.
It was good,
and it was in a strange kind of 1 week meta, if you remember, because it was
post most wanted,
but it was pre Caligoda, which didn't make a big difference. But it was the very first one of the very first tournaments post most wanted, which made it quite interesting,
and one of the only ones pre Caligoda, because the Americans pretty much transitioned at the same time. So
yeah, that's true. It was like a week behind arriving in the UK. So, and there weren't a lot of tournaments, and it was like on the first Saturday after
February,
after Most Wanted came into effect. So
it was interesting because we had 3 store champs in a row. So there was
all the shot
first week, which was on the 31st of January. So that was no Most Wanted list, no Caligoda. And the next Saturday was Reading, Most Wanted list, no Caligoda. And then the next week was Oxford, Most Wanted list and Caligoda. So it was a really weird 3 weeks where you had this sort of meta shifting,
because these were our local.
These are our 3 local
store champs. So we went to all of them, but we had different decks, everyone. So it was really strange.
Well, I didn't. I just
you probably didn't.
2 times.
I put in Mongoose, I think, for all the shot. It's good.
ETF, and then NEH.
Yeah, and obviously didn't play in the middle one.
Because as soon as Mumba Temple came out, that was the way. I was waiting for Caligoda because I wanted Mumba Temple, and as soon as that came out, I was like, sod your ETF. Mumba Temple going in NEH, and took that to Oxford.
Yeah, that's true. So that was a little while ago now. We've had a couple of data packs come out in the meantime.
Yeah, a lot.
And we're going to see some more Store Championship footage. So in our next video, we're going to see the very tail end, just a few games from the Bristol Store Championship.
Right, just from the cut, is it?
Just from the cut. Just a couple of games at the end. I think we're going to pick it up in the losers bracket final. And then we'll get a couple of games from there. That was so let me think. I think Business First may have been illegal for that. Off the top of my head, no, I think it was just Caligoda. I think it was pre-Business First. It was a few weeks after our store champs. You didn't go to Bristol?
I did not.
No. Okay.
There was a lot of travelling around store champs, and
there was a lot of travelling.
I'd hit my goals for the store champ season, so I was trying to hang back a little bit, and I went to a few. I went to Woking and Bracknell, which after I was like, no, I achieved what I wanted to. I'm going to stop going, but I went to a few more, but I didn't go to Bristol.
Yeah, I went to a lot of. I had a very active start of the year.
Yeah.
I went to 12.
It's been a lot.
Was it 12 or 13? Tournament weekends in a row. Yeah, I did a lot. There weren't all store championships, but there were some GNKs. Anyway, So I would like to thank Eclectic Games for hosting the store championship. It was very nice to play. I'd like to thank everyone for coming as well, and making it a very great day. It'll be exciting to see lots of people come back for the regional.
Yes, I'm sure it's very accessible. So I think a lot will be quite a popular regional.
Yeah, I think the southern tournaments are very well attended. I think I'm not sure how well attended they are in the north or beyond, but I know the southern ones are very well attended.
Yeah, and I think Reading's just a bit is ironically a bit easier than London.
It's quite central.
Well, it's cheaper anyway to get to.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah,
but it's to be. But I think London and Reading will be, and Swansea and Birmingham as well. That's the 4 I'm going to anyway. So.
I'm going to the Expo. And I had bought a ticket for London now. Yeah, I think
awesome.
That's I won't play in Reading, obviously. I'll be running it, but so I might as well specifically mention that in the first video from the Bristol Store Champs, we're going to see Chris Dyer of Exeter fame.
Yeah, another nice player.
Yes, he's playing Sol, actually.
Sol.
I played him on the day. It's quite an interesting deck, and it was.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I actually went 0-4 against Chris's that day. Really nice. I had a great start of the tournament. I played 2 Chris's in a row. Lost all 4 games. Awful.
Dear.
Bombed out. And he's playing against Emily Gill, Emmy.
Yeah.
Who's playing Sync. So Emmy more of I'm not even a beginner player. She does play well, but she's played a lot under the tutelage of Rob Mendax Thompson.
Sure.
And she's from down in Penzance. So being in Bristol, this is
localish.
Is this a derby? Is Exeter versus Penzance? Is that? I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Geographically, is there a kind of? I'm not even going to try and guess what counties there because I'm just going to embarrass myself. But
Cornwall.
There might be and Devon, I want to say.
Devon,
but,
Cornwall.
Yeah, something like that. maybe. Yes. So they're going to play, and as I say, that's the loser bracket final. So that'll be good to watch.
Awesome.
So I'd like to remind viewers that if they would like to see any more of our videos, they can find them all at the website nearreadinggrid.co.uk. You can find us on Facebook and on Twitter, and also on Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thank you, Joe, for helping me commentate on this and this entire tournament.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching, and we'll see you very soon.